Call to order the meeting for Wednesday, July 23rd. May I have roll call, please?
Mayor Allen,
Present.
Mayor Pro Tem Clayton,
Present.
Commissioner Taylor,
Present.
Commissioner Crowley,
Present.
and Commissioner Skidmore.
And present.
I would like to welcome everyone here in the audience as well as anyone watching or listening at home. We will begin today's meeting with the Pledge of Allegiance, followed by the invocation by Pastor Darren Story with Westminster Presbyterian Church.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Let us pray. Almighty God, we gather today with hearts open to your guidance. We ask for wisdom and discernment with this body as they deliberate on matters before them. May their decisions be guided by a spirit of fairness, justice, and compassion for our residents. Grant them the strength to work together even amidst differing opinions and to serve the common good. May this meeting be productive and fruitful, leading to positive outcomes for our city. We ask this in Jesus' name. Amen.
Thank you, Pastor.
Thank you, Pastor. It's right there.
We'll move on to public comments. I believe we have one. Is that correct?
We do.
Okay.
Greg Hernandez.
Okay. Would you like to?
Stand just right there.
Yep, come on up and state your name and then you have, actually, I'll read a disclaimer for you. Subject to the above restrictions, persons who wish to address the city commission regarding items on the agenda may do so as that agenda item is called. Persons who wish to address the city commission regarding items not on the agenda and that are under the jurisdiction of city commission may do so at this time when called upon by the mayor. Comments on personnel matters and matters pending in court or with other outside tribunals are not permitted. Speakers are limited to 3 minutes. Any presentation is for information purposes only. The governing body will take comments under advisement. And welcome.
Yeah, my name is Gregorio Hernandez or Gregory Hernandez. Do I need to give my address as far where I live? I live here in Ottawa.
I don't think that's required
Okay.
anymore.
Well, I just wanted to address the city council and let them know, I have a demolition project coming up here soon. Is for a trailer off of North Sycamore. 1300 block of North Sycamore. And, I just want to make sure that, you know, that everybody is, notified of this so that I'm not, you know, shorting anybody as far as trying to get it done. I've already filled out the, demo permit. But I have to wait until I get the bids from the other from 3 contractors. So that'll, I guess, the permit is not complete until that happens. So that's just what I'm waiting for. Hopefully by the end of this week, I can have that selected or have the other bids come in and I can go from there. And if there's any questions, I don't mind answering them, you know, as far as what my time schedule is. I think probably the time schedule is probably dependent upon the building permit because they have to notify the different utilities to switch them off or to make sure they're switched off. Now, power and light, that's not a problem because the city takes care of that. It's just the gas company is usually the holdup on that. So I just wanted to make sure that, you know, here in the city commission that people realize that I'm doing something on it. I'm not slacking or anything. I'm not trying to get away with anything without doing it.
Sure.
So,
Yeah, we appreciate that. And thanks for updating us. And it sounds like you're going through the right process. So
right. Like I said, the upstairs, they're the guys that I talk to all the
Yep.
time. So
perfect. Thank you very much.
thank you. I didn't go over my 3 minutes, did I?
Nope. Would have beat that us had you done that. Okay. We will skip over appointments, proclamations, recognitions, and nominations with none under there. We'll move on to consent agenda, which includes minutes from the July 16th, 2025 regular meeting, June 2025 finance monthly report, partner agency reports for June of 2025 from FCDC, Ottawa Library, Ottawa Main Street, and Prairie Paws, and the agenda approval. Do we have a motion?
So moved. I'll second.
Okay, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. At this time, I'd like to give commissioners a chance to declare any conflict or communication they've had that might influence their ability to consider today's issues impartially. Seeing and hearing none, we will skip over unfinished business as there's nothing under that. We'll move on to new business with item 11A.
Public hearing on Reinvestment Housing Incentive District, which is an RHID development plan and RHID district for Northeast Village.
This public hearing is to consider the adoption of a RHID development plan and establishment of an RHID district for the Northeast Village project. I will open this public hearing at 4:05. And we have Director Landis. Would you like to present them?
Thank you. I also have our representatives, our consultants with QTAC Rock online as well to answer any questions that you might have. Because it's a public hearing, we will just run through the basic information on the project overall. The applicant is Complete Acquisitions of Gardner LLC. The request is for an RHID, which is Reinvestment Housing Incentive District. The development is for 40 single-family townhomes located at 1426 East Wilson Street. And the last discussion item we had on this was on June 18th, in which you passed a resolution and that we would notify the public that a public hearing was going to be held. The remainder of the background includes information about the RHID, which we've covered in our previous meetings, but in case someone is listening that has not been a part of that, the state of Kansas under the RHID Act allows an incentive for housing under these top three items. So one of them being infrastructure, which includes streets, sewer, water, stormwater, sidewalks and electric utilities, or upper floor living in your downtown areas, or vertical construction costs where those initial infrastructure improvements have been made and have been there for more than 10 years and the lots have not been subject to special assessments. This project is in an area where the infrastructure has been in for more than 10 years, but the bulk of the expenses in the RHID negotiated amount really are for interior infrastructure and some sidewalk costs. The development again is 40 townhomes proposed as 2-bedroom, 2-bath with a market rent initially proposed at $1,250 per month. This subsection of rental homes falls underneath of one of the sections within our housing study that was just conducted earlier in 2025, which stated that Ottawa would need an additional 52 rental units with a monthly rent range of $1,200 to $1,499. Timeline wise, we first started discussing this earlier this year. The Incentive Review Committee met in April. We brought to you a resolution where you found that there are housing needs in line with what's being proposed for this project. That resolution was sent to the state. We received word back from the state on May 1st that they had approved our RHID request. We brought to you a resolution on June 18th asking for you to establish a public hearing date so that you could notify the public that you intended to create an RHID or this district. And today we're holding the public hearing, and once the public hearing is closed, you'll be asked to pass an ordinance which actually establishes the district, adopts the development plan, and approves the development agreement, which would be signed between the city and the developer. In this process under RHID, there is a 30-day veto period by the other taxing entities. The purpose of our initial meeting with them early in April was to make sure that they understood the project, had any of the questions answered that they may have had at that point in time, but they do have 30 days to veto. In this case would be August 23rd, and then beyond that, it would be put in place. And with that, I'm happy to answer any questions or hear from the public and try to answer any questions they might have.
Do we have any questions for Director Landis? Do we have any public that would like to speak on this? Last call for any comments or public comments. I will close the meeting at 4:10. Or not the meeting. the public hearing. I mean, we can just go home now, that's fine. Okay, we'll move on to item 11B.
This is an ordinance adopting Reinvestment Housing Incentive District Development Plan, establishing the RHID and approving the development agreement for Northeast Village.
This ordinance adopts the RHID development plan, formally establishes the RHID district boundaries for the Northeast Village project, and authorizes execution of the associated development agreement. We have Director Landis presenting on this as well.
Thank you. So as you just stated, this is the ordinance we just discussed. Again, we just discussed the project background, so I won't go back through that with you unless you really want to. Now that we've held the public hearing, opened and closed it with no public comment, the request is for you to consider adoption of the ordinance, establishing the entire district with the development plan, the development agreement, and creating the actual district. So this is the remainder of the project analysis. So the financing for this project is pay as you go, which means that the developer will front all of the costs for the entire project. And then the payment terms would be that they will certify that they have eligible expenses that do not or that up to or more than $845,000. The maximum that they could be reimbursed from the increment on those properties is $845,000, or the latest date would be August 31 of 2038, whichever of those two occurs first. The eligible expenses are something they'll certify to our bond council. They will review and approve those once the project is complete. The timeline is that we will remit disbursements within 30 days after we receive the ad valorem from the county. So when a property is taxed, they pay the taxes. We receive the taxes either in January or June of the following, whether they pay it in half or in full, depending on when it is received is how it will be reimbursed. There is a minimum of $10,000 that has to be brought in before those first payments can go out. The project is tracked in a separate fund for accounting purposes. The developer pays the taxes and assessments for the project once due on or before the due date, and then the payment under protest is allowed in this case, or in any of the cases in an RHID. However, by requesting to reduce the amount of the assessed valuation or the appraised value of the property, it may delay the increment being reimbursed to the developer, or they may not meet the total amount in full within the time period that's established in the development agreement. And then the transfer of the agreement can only occur with the approval of the governing body. Before I go into the remainder of this, I actually was remiss in asking our developer's representative if he had any comments about the project when we held the public hearing. Would you like to hear from the developer? Do you have questions specifically of the developer about the project?
Yeah, I've got one, just kind of the way this is designed, it's Bohai, right?
Yeah.
I get your name right. Is that it's more for senior, or could it be for anybody as far as the occupants?
It's designed and laid out to be conducive for seniors,
Okay.
55 and older.
Yeah.
There was a stipulation when there was a grant that 36 out of the 40 units had to be. But that grant has since gone by the wayside. So there's not a criteria, but we anticipate that there will be an appetite of that senior element for these units, because they're very conducive with one-story living, zero entrance, there's no steps, and
Right.
so it works really well for seniors.
And as far as maintenance goes, lawn mowing, snow removal on sidewalks, is that,
There'll be a homes association established,
okay?
and covenants and restrictions put in place. And the owner will be responsible for the maintenance of the exteriors, the lawn mowing, and since they're private streets, the snow removal and the maintenance of those streets.
Okay, that's good to hear. I was thinking, now this housing study we did, I don't remember, you mentioned how many rental units were they called for as like
I think
50
it
or,
said 52
52.
in that price range.
but did that report indicate age constraints at all? It was just in general, this time between the, okay.
I think FCDC is looking at doing a senior
I did see
housing
that.
study, yeah,
That's-
but,
May hopefully this
Yeah.
maybe
yeah.
complement that, you know, but I agree. Okay, thanks.
Do we have any other questions for the developer?
Thank you, and I apologize for not offering that during the public hearing. The financial considerations under the ordinance that's being presented is that the base value of the properties will continue to be remitted to all of the taxing jurisdictions, so that's the current base value of the property right now. The reimbursable portion is the increment that's generated, so whatever the new value is after the home is built and is added to the tax rolls, or is increasing, when it's placed on the tax rolls, the new appraised value, that increment is what's eligible to be reimbursed back to the developer. The portion of the agreement supported, the reimbursement portion of the agreement is supported by the feasibility study that was performed by Ellers. And the maximum reimbursement is capped at $845,000 or a final reimbursement date of August 31 of 2038, whichever occurs first. And the city receives a 2.5% administration fee to offset the cost of managing the agreement overall. So instead of it being 100%, it's a 97.5% reimbursement annually, or each time that reimbursement goes back to the developer. The legal considerations are that the ordinance, the development plan, and actually the entire process has been managed by our bond counsel, and also provided to our city attorney for review along the way. And our recommendation would be that you consider approving an ordinance of the city, adopting a reinvestment housing incentive district development plan, establishing a reinvestment housing incentive district within the city, and approving a development agreement to be named Northeast Village Reinvestment Housing Incentive District, or RHID. And again, our bond counsel, I believe, is online if you have any questions about the process or just in general for what we've presented today.
Are there any questions?
I just want to look one more thing here about the commencement date, roughly November 1st. You think will happen, or is it, does it look like it provided everything else was approved as?
The later we've gotten into the year, I think we will be able to commence by then, but I don't think we'll get the infrastructure, street and stuff probably finalized till the end of March or so of next year. And then
Whether
it'll take about a year to build the project. So,
but we'll see some dirt turn here very shortly, then that's good, so. Good.
Any other questions?
With all, I'll make a motion, we approve item 11B on our agenda.
Do we have a second?
I'll second.
Is there any further discussion? May I have roll call vote, please?
Mayor Pro Tem Clayton,
Yes.
Commissioner Skidmore,
Yes.
Commissioner Taylor,
Yes.
Commissioner Crowley,
Yes.
and Mayor Allen.
And I vote yes, motion carries. Thank you.
Thank you.
We will move on to item 11C.
Provide direction on staff initiating a public engagement process to assess current logo and potential design alternatives.
This discussion is to determine the commission's interest in adopting a new city logo and provide proposed timeline for the public engagement process. And we have our communications and outreach coordinator here. And do you want to introduce yourself? I don't know that we have all met you. I know I met you, but I don't know if everybody has.
Yes, Misty Etchison. I've been here, this is my 4th week, and I'm already coming to you with the consideration. Anything you want to know about me, before we get started? I don't. All good to go? Excellent.
Yeah,
Okay.
fire away.
So, obviously this position was created to kind of evaluate the communications and outreach of the city. And so, as part of that process, I have evaluated our resources, kind of taken a look at the logo, the website. I know that there's a website project in the works on that committee. But I wanted to come to you with kind of an evaluation of the logo first, because we are doing a new website. The aesthetic and new modern design is a little bit different than our logo kind of puts forward. So, As I mentioned, deliberate and professional communication is important to this position and to the citizens of Ottawa. So I am continuing to meet with departments, continuing to outreach into the community to meet different people and organizations, and also kind of taking a look at what they are doing as part of the Ottawa community. So as you know, with most logos, it's kind of, when you see it, you recognize it. That's what you want from a logo. And we have that on our letterhead, on websites, on social media. When people are coming into town, we want them to be able to see our logo on different things. And that's going to kind of put something in their mind when they see it, right? You kind of expect that with Apple, Coca-Cola, all of those logos. So that is our goal, is to kind of identify Ottawa through a logo as the initial look. So our current logo, I'm taking this information from other people, but our current logo was adopted over 20 years ago. And it was a great logo at the time, probably really reflected where we were in the community, as far as even the city hall where it was located. So, but we are now in 2025. And we want to consider a logo that's a little more modern, a little less detailed for use on signs and different print opportunities, but also need a higher resolution to work with for those kinds of projects. So I put up some examples here so you could see what I mean about a more simple design and a more modern design than what we have currently. Not saying that's something that we want to reflect and have something similar to it, but just that simple look is really what I was trying to go for
I
there.
never thought, like you said, the detail in the
Mhm.
current, and it is a lot there, and I understand that's why we could not use it for our new water tower, because of the double
Sure.
curvature of the,
Yes,
and so we had to use it, spell out the name, but.
and you don't necessarily think about that when you're designing something. Sometimes it's something you just look at and you're like, oh yeah, that looks great. But then when you're putting it on like a lapel pin or something like that, it loses all of the detail. So I've been part of logo rollouts before, and I know that sometimes it's difficult for people to accept a change. And so it's important to get the feedback from your internal stakeholders as well as your external stakeholders. So I've kind of set an anticipated timeline. We are bringing this to you at this moment because we are trying to roll out that new website, and that would be a great opportunity to roll out a logo as well. But that makes things go a little faster if we are on that timeline. If you are in agreement with moving forward, we would go back and start concept development, putting together some logos to share with our internal stakeholders first, and then get the feedback from them to see if they think it reflects the community and what we want to put forth as the city of Ottawa. And then we would take their feedback and refine it if necessary. And then we would roll it, talk to partners first about the logo change and how that would affect them. And then put it out to the community just to get their interest of a certain direction, whether they like what we put out. And we probably put out 2 to 3 logos for them to comment on, most likely through just a social media or survey type of thing. And then once we've received all of that input, we will be back to you in September. Any questions about anything that?
I don't have any questions. My first instinct was I like our logo, but you're very much right. Like it is pretty detailed, definitely not the easiest to put on signage. I guess I do have a question. So on like our digital footprints, it would be easy to change the logo. But on things like letterhead and, I don't know if it's on envelopes, just business cards, all of the things. Do we see that being a pretty large cost, or would it be kind of like a gradual shift, or what do you anticipate with that?
In my experience working for a different taxpayer funded entity, what we did is once it's adopted, then anything moving forward would have the new logo.
Okay.
And because it is a large expense if you try to do it all at one time, but the next time you order decals for trucks, then it's the new logo.
Okay.
So just kind of a slower implementation so that we're not. we're
So a
being mindful.
replacement, yeah, more of a replacement rather than, okay, very good.
I think it's a great idea. I mean, we've talked in meetings amongst ourselves about telling our story and modernization and things like that. It's something that moving forward, you know, to me, it just seems kind of like an older style
Yep.
logo, and it's time to move forward. Plus, we can get some new shirts.
Yeah.
So,
When we wear holes in our.
Yeah.
When we would get it.
And we would keep record, of course, of the logo.
Yeah,
within
yeah.
the office and.
Yeah.
No, I as well, I agree, you know, as Commissioner Crowley said, we've really talked about kind of that, like, what is Ottawa, what is the future and as that looks, and you'd mentioned 20 years ago. You know, I'm thinking about what was on the internet, how are you using the internet 20 years ago when you weren't? You know, the city probably had a web page, but the current need for it, you know, and looking around at like Lenexa, Lawrence, you'd given some examples, and everywhere you see, it is a little just simpler. And then obviously, you know, looking at his shirt as well, like you'd mentioned, printing and stuff like that, it's just a little harder to do that. I know we've talked about kind of a what is Ottawa? What is Ottawa's thing? And I can see the logo being really tied to that. So kind of in that cart and horse scenario, obviously this is kind of a low hanging fruit. Do you kind of see that tying into that as well to kind of get input on what is Ottawa? What should be the thing on the logo? You know, you see Great Bends that looks like it's got the river.
Right.
You kind of see things in each person's that touches to their community. And do you already have some stuff, I guess, that you've even thought of, probably that, you know, maybe we haven't, kind of what that would look like?
I've kind of grouped some concepts together into, Ottawa means to trade. So if you're looking for kind of a history tie, then we could look at something like that. I live in Gardner, but I owned a small business there, and I talked to a lot of people who came from Ottawa and talked to me at the brewery. And I heard a lot of people talk about biking the trails for Ottawa, and of course the car show. So those kinds of things are you're kind of known for outside of this community. So I was looking at something that was something related to the trails or the rivers, just because of, you know, location and what you're known for. But of course, there's a lot of other things that we could go with as well. But when you're looking at logo, it's kind of hard sometimes to take it from, you know, if you're just having a broad concept of historic or nature. So just being able to kind of narrow it down and tie it, maybe not directly, maybe indirectly to things. I know that is not exactly answering your question.
I think
probably,
that.
but those are kind of the broad categories I've thought about when I've putting concepts together.
Awesome.
so you're, sorry, Mike. So you're waiting for community input till September 2nd. Is there a way that maybe before then, we could allow the community to maybe, you know, we got a lot of artists out there. I'm more right brain than left brain. So there's a lot of left brain people out there that great artists that maybe could write, draw something up and submit it to our website. You know, that maybe we could utilize before that September 2nd thing, because that might be a little too late in the game for them to give that option.
We certainly could look at that. I think one of the things that I think of when I'm trying to roll this out is that we have some professionals, you know, on staff and people who have worked with those kinds of situations before, and to make sure that we rely on their talent and knowledge as well. But we certainly could look at that.
Well, that's what I'm worried about, public engagement. Does that mean people can submit proposals?
More, here are 2 or 3 logos. Which one do you feel like
Once we
is,
get that.
most reflective of the community? Do you feel like?
Kind of like what Eric said, yeah, there could be somebody out there from here in town, hey, here's a great one, they submit this is.
And I like the professional opinion for sure,
Oh,
but we
yeah.
also have people that may have lived there their whole life that are just emotionally committed to our community that, you know, could draw something up also. And I hate to leave that, like I said, those left brain artists out, you know, if they have a great submission.
Well, and maybe something we could do is, because I feel like we've learned from the license plate fiasco when it was, here's your options, and everybody hated
Yeah.
all of the options. And so, not saying that would be the case here, like, but that was like a big deal because it was supposed to represent the state and everybody just did not like that. But maybe it could even be kind of a fun thing where if we did request any buddy to submit things, by like, I don't know, I'm just throwing stuff like August 15th. And then, in the final engagement step, it could be, perhaps 2 of the professional logos and 1 of the, citizen designed logo, and then people could give their opinions on it. But I would be good with absolutely whatever, but I think that would at least help with some buy-in as well.
And I do definitely understand that piece of it. It might also be something to consider that, to make sure that there's, no trademarks or.
Yeah.
So I was gonna ask,
Yeah.
I mean, there's,
Yeah.
that opens it up to
Yeah,
a little more.
Oh, yeah, that's true.
Research that
Yeah.
would need to be done on our part
Yeah.
to make sure that we're not violating. any
Just
of those
copying
things.
somebody else's or something. That's a good point.
And that's something I thought too as well, even if it is, their creation. They have to sign over the intellectual rights to that
Yeah.
in perpetuity. Would that be a part of whatever this contest may look like? Just, that's a Blaine question for sure, but
Yeah. that would be a
to
factor.
get their,
It would be an open source.
to get their input, yeah, and then obviously that, it would be something that would become ours, but I mean, I think that's a great idea. As you'd mentioned, people who've been here and maybe have those things that to them are Ottawa, that they might start to kind of incorporate, just to.
Maybe even look into, and then if it is just not feasible, then it's not
Yeah.
feasible, but at least see if that's something that could be worked into the timeline and people could do that.
As far as copyright infringement of any kind, we've got an agency here in town that does that for a living, Harshaw Research. Are they still around? Maybe not, no, never mind.
There you go. There's your next job.
Okay, there we go. Carol.
Any other questions or comments? Okay. So the recommendation is to either direct staff to proceed with public engagement process for the new logo design, deny the request and continue use of the current logo, or continue deliberation at the August 6th, 2025 regular city commission meeting.
And what I'm hearing is I feel like we're all very excited for you to proceed with that process and whatever that looks like.
Great.
Yeah.
Sounds good. Thank
very
you.
much.
Thank you. We will go on to item 11D.
Consideration of signal pole design and future corridor aesthetics.
Staff is seeking direction on traffic signal design for intersection at 15th and Main and future pole replacements. We have City Manager Silcott presenting.
And we have Ed as the technological expert, I'm just the number counter nerd. Who can also assess. This is essentially a pretty simple decision is, do we want to kind of in the vein of branding, look at an aesthetic to our street poles for an additional $25,000 to $30,000 per intersection? That would then be implemented systematically over time to conform with a larger integration with the downtown? Or do we want to go ahead and continue using the existing style of street poles? So this identifies again with our community vision. We are currently with 15th and Main Street's signalization upgrade. So we're bringing this to you as we do need to plan ahead if we are looking at consistency rather than buying the standard brush composite or aluminum poles. And then we want to make sure that we are not slowing the project down any further by proceeding with this, and also ensuring that any product lines are, that they'll be in service and available into the foreseeable future, so that we're not limiting ourselves to an inconsistent design throughout the city. And ultimately, we have several options. Again, we have, with the decorative fixture, we could look at the, galvanized painted fluted. And what you're seeing is the, finished paint over a galvanized with a 1-year warranty. We also have a 15-year warranty, or 5-year warranty as well, I'm sorry. And our next slides will show you the mast arms, the decorative flutes, and kind of what some of those concepts might look like. With respect to also the price differential within added bases, or even just going with a straight pole similar to the ones that we have in the parking lot to the east of City Hall here. And then numerous bell type flares and what those costs might look like. And then you have your pole assemblies at the top as well. And here's some images of what many of those look like, or if you're driving through the metro, you may notice some of these on bridges or along thoroughfares in Overland Park, Prairie Village, Olathe, Lenexa. And so this would be kind of akin to that. And you see actually, which wouldn't be an intersection pole, but something kind of similar to what our current and historic pole fixtures look like. And then this is more akin to kind of what we would be talking to with respect to 15th Street. And again, right now, we would only be asking, is this something that you're interested in? And if so, we would then proceed with that, but we didn't want to present this without at least letting you know that there could be there is a long-term incremental plan for future intersection projects as well, that we would utilize the same concept in trying to make, because you're not gonna find the fixtures types for the cross arms as really kind of blending all that on a one-for-one kind of match like you might for our traditional streetlights that we have downtown, or even looking at some other type of thoroughfares. And you see they even have, banner attachments. There's other fixtures as well that would be utilized and could be utilized if that's something that we would want to look at. And again, the cost differential is for an intersection would be about 25 to 30,000, depending upon what option we were to go with.
I guess I'm kind of thinking as we get close to downtown, I can see it, but 15th and Main being far enough away, I don't gotta do it cheaper myself just to galvanize what we have currently. That's the time spending on that. It's been 25 to 30,000 more, you said?
Right, and the option, ideally, the plan would be to hit the major access points, the arterials, and that's all. But you're right, and that's a valid issue.
I was just up at Overland Park recently and I saw some of the black, we get this kind of matte finish on that, and those look nice, but ouch on the price tag.
How many intersections do we have that would, I was trying to count, but I think.
Well, we would be doing them a bite at a time.
Sure,
but
yeah,
ultimately,
but overall,
I think we've got at least 3 kind of in our near to midterm plans.
and I stopped at 10. I stopped at counting at 10, but, and so my concern is, and I know it would be spread over time, but $300,000 just for aesthetics would be fairly hard for me to justify to citizens. I love the look of it, but also when that money could be spent on the streets themselves, or, something similar that I wouldn't be able to justify having.
And I know one of the things too that we've looked at, is some of those intersections would be included in KDOT projects, and others obviously wouldn't, but think we've got clear consensus that we will proceed with, our standard Cobra head. And that's what we came to you for.
Do you guys have
I-
one way or the other?
I mean, if it's a matter of us saying, yes, let's look into the price at this point.
Well, that's what we've looked at, is you're adding
You're adding
$25,000 to $30,000,
Yeah.
depending upon what you go with for each intersection.
Do you have anything, Brian, on there? You know, all these different designs that I saw like on the profile going up, there's what, like 8 or different, different styles. On that, if you do any of these other style types over time, we're obviously not doing a
Right.
project where we buy everything now.
Right.
Are these essentially designs and styles that in 15 years, if we were to go with one of these options,
Are fairly
Are-
consistent, and that's the one thing that would be, and that has been the driver even on the initial conversations, is that, kind of anything that's presented here, even in concepts, been vetted by Ed and his team, so that we know that we're not getting something that's a nightmare to maintain and can easily be replaced or heads swapped out, even if we get a different design doing it with that. So, that's the intent. Now, if they were to look at changing things outright, because a significant cost driver, which I don't know that we would need, is these things are simple. Having done several Main Street projects, those, you simply bolt them on
mhm,
with lock nuts and washers. So, depending upon what you're trying to get or what you want that look to be. And we'll be having this conversation again at some point when we discuss, how we might want to approach, upgrading or replacing the lights that are downtown.
Ed, do you know, looking at just kind of the standard round black, it's 106,000 for a 1-year paint warranty, 122. To me, that's a pretty significant jump in that paint warranty. Do you know what like the estimated lifespan is on?
Well, yeah, that's hard to say. I don't really know, but I do know that the higher one is like, it's more like a powder coat rather than just a paint.
Okay,
So if you get
When it would,
debris pitting, it'll still
Yeah.
retain the color rather than flake off.
it's much more a different paint than just the warranty that
Yeah.
comes from the
yeah,
manufacturer.
it's
Okay,
completely different. So
What are the poles that we have now? Painted or powder coated?
they are
Paint.
painted.
And they've been there how long?
Yeah. Hmm.
40 years?
Those are the second iteration of electric poles that I know we've had, and that, it goes back to like, I wanna say the 30s or 40s.
But the ones we've had have been there for a long
Yeah.
time.
The 30s.
Well, and you can see we just did 2 intersections in pretty quick at 68 Main and Davis and 68. And that's what if you stayed with the standard, what we've been using, that's kind of what they would look like.
Well, I agree with what Mike said a little bit ago. I mean, if we wanna stay away from farther down Main Street, that's fine, but when we get more, downtown, I certainly am interested in changing those streetlights out. We just talked about the modernization of our logo. I mean, that some people will see, and hopefully a lot of people, but a significant amount of people will see the lights that we have downtown, and I think that just, it says a lot about, kind of an upgrade to our downtown if we do something else.
And I do think 5 is way more feasible than 12 or, just rough.
And when you get downtown, the traffic lights are significantly smaller too.
Yeah.
So the total price will be less right off the start. So
That's a good point. I like that.
Ed or Brian, on there on the photos, only the painted and like the black ones had the arms for banners, had some of those other additional kind of add-ons. Are those things that are essentially ad hoc, that if we went with the stainless, standard, that those types of things could be added?
a lot of that is like just for your, I just call them fancier poles, but they're
Mhm.
like, we looked at ones before that you can screw any kind of attachment, right? I mean, they got a clip system and it screws right into the pole,
Okay,
so you can do anything.
You could use the same thing that we used on you used on the, telephone poles, correct, for the, veterans
Veterans.
banners?
Yeah.
cause I know we've had discussions kind of similar, you know, you see this as well. You know, what would our new logo look like splashed on those?
Great idea.
Yeah,
I do
and
have-
like for the downtown, you know, I would, having again done one of these in Sterling, albeit, I hate to say it, 25-ish years ago. You do pay more for attachment points, but, that, when you're hanging banners or you're hanging, say, planters or regular things like that, that for those smaller light fixtures, to me, is money saved as well as a longevity of the pole itself, because you're not, you know, worried about the cinches and the damage that the cinches might cause in the wind, et cetera, et cetera. And they seemed to be more resilient to, load.
Hmm.
But again, that's for something that's unrelated
Yeah.
to, the intersection itself.
And these lights wouldn't have it nearly as much, but the lower left design that has almost like a pedestrian light and then a different light for illuminating the roadway.
Yes.
Are you know, is that the same kind of thing, that those are much more, you have to get a specialized pole, you can't really do that as much in your standard?
Yeah, that's
If-
a special.
Okay.
pole.
And thankfully, we don't have these areas as much where you kind of need to illuminate two areas, but
Yeah, I mean, they're not uncommon, but
Mhm.
yeah, and I'm assuming that you're increasing the cost because you've got
Yeah.
two additional,
Good, yeah.
or one
Yeah.
additional fixture.
Mhm.
So,
Okay, am I hearing that the general consensus is to maybe revisit this when we get to downtown pool replacements?
that's right.
thank you.
Okay.
Yeah.
This next item, 11E street conduit boring and pole box installation from 9th Street to 13th is to consider the authorization to proceed with phase 2 expenditures for this 2025 Main Street, light conduit boring and box hole installation project in the amount of $65,000. This is the second phase of a two-phase, project, the first of which was presented and authorized by the governing body in May of this year and was successfully implemented. And so this will enable us to continue with future aesthetic and functional enhancements along Main Street, and also help us align with modernizing our infrastructure and our high visibility corridors. The project includes installation of approximately 5,400 square feet and 28 pole boxes from 9th to 13th. And we would utilize Right Tree Service, who was the sole source provider and is a local vendor that performed phase 1 as well. And they have the availability and the specialty equipment to be able to continue this project forward. This helps us with our strategic priorities of infrastructure and resource management, public safety and awareness as you're illuminating the roadway and pedestrian corridors for those in the area, as well as enhancing economic growth and employment opportunities and our quality of life and community involvement. And this is a map of the area in consideration, running from 9th Street at the top of the map down to 13th, and aligning with access there to Kansas Park.
Is there a current board or boring already there, and this would be new?
It would be new, and I'll let Ed speak in greater
The
detail.
current now that we have is direct buried, which the wires are just directly buried into the ground. No conduit, and that's what's happening over time. They get wore out and then they'll short out and you gotta go run through and try to fix. And we're at a point now where instead of taking our time to fix the last couple of lights, we went this route to redo and put them all in conduit where if we have trouble, we can pull new wire through the conduit and ready to go.
And rather than boring in parallel, are they crossing Main Street?
They did on the first section we did from 15th to 13th. And that went good, so I'm gonna leave that to them because they know the best and easiest route for them to go.
And that went as well because the right of way, the easement in that area was very convoluted with other utilities, so
That's why they
it's beneficial.
cross. I mean,
But when you see, or you notice, or you receive, comments or concerns on why is it that the streetlights are blinking, or why are they out, why are they intermittent?
Yeah.
This is why, as Ed had indicated, so this will alleviate that.
And Ed, would all these boxes and everything be in the easement,
Yeah.
be off the roadway? So,
Essentially, and not really changing the alignment of existing
No.
pole features. So essentially, everything would still kind of be in that same general area. So we currently have 65,000 for phase 2 funded in our electric distribution fund. And this obviously complies with our procurement policy. And so if you have no questions of Ed or Director Landis on financing, the recommendation would be to authorize us to execute the agreement so we can proceed with the boring.
Is it 65,000 just for phase 2?
Yes, that's the total
Okay,
project cost.
total project, so 47 for phase 2.
No, this portion of that project is 65.
Okay.
I apologize.
Okay.
And that's the amount, not the actual total bid. We expect it to be less than that, because that also includes contingency in the event that, again, something comes up.
If approved, do you know when they might start?
I just got back and I'm not sure if we were supposed to get the conduit or July sometime. But as soon as we get it, I'll just give them a call and it could be the same week, so.
So will they be doing both sides at the same time?
No, if they run down both sides, they'll probably do one and then the other.
So they'll just shut down one lane on,
Well,
or
I
will they
didn't
even
think
shut
they
down any
shut
lanes?
down any lane last time. They set up in the easement.
Okay.
Board through, so. I mean, they put signs up and, slowed people down hopefully, but I don't think they shut any lanes in.
Standard question we ask every time, but I'm assuming that once we decide to get started, that all the residents will be notified. Yards will be,
And we can utilize our Everbridge system
Perfect.
to those that are in there, and encouraging others to complete that application process or the enrollment process. So we can simply polygon that and they know that, hey, it's in our
thank you.
front yard.
And for trimming trees and stuff around those, do we typically do that around lights?
That it depends on where it's located.
Mhm.
But in this instance, because it's in the front and it's underground, we would not. It's the property owner and we are assessing, and we want to utilize the forester, the state forester, to also give us an inventory so that we can come back with a process, because if the city looks at removing that, that's we would have to look at our workflow and what those priorities might be and how we would want to address that, as well as how we would engage the public accordingly. And so what our hope is we can get the forester in to perform an assessment, and we can offer up some approaches that would be beneficial to those that are impacted with dead or dying or diseased trees, particularly those older growth ones, but also, because the cost is, particularly in the larger ones, is expensive, so.
And I wasn't thinking full tree removal. I was just curious, because I know there's some as you drive that the branches are low enough, it's
below 10 or 15.
kind of in your light canopy essentially. And I think it's a beautiful canopy as you drive. But then also when the lights kick on, there's areas that you don't get the light overlapping, for lack of a better term,
And that
between the lights
actually
because you
that-
get.
In the absence of that, you would want to shore all, which would, and I'll defer to, our, Director Welsh, because I haven't taken the arborist class since, 92 or 3, I think it was, so. But that would essentially be a shearing, so you
Yeah.
would be trimming the entire tree up above, up to that height on the street side
Mhm.
to allow for that full, which is not a common practice.
Yeah.
And not to get too off subject here, but when you touched on tree replacement, I did want to suggest, I don't know that Loma Vista. I don't know if they,
I don't know.
the trees, I don't know how large the trees are, but it might be something worth looking at to see if we can partner with them, but.
And we also would, because there's been some advances and there's also some specific tree types that, and I'm thinking specifically of a sycamore species that has some nice canopy, but has that vertical root structure rather than the horizontal. And that's important because kind of a rule of thumb is whatever you see for that tree canopy, triple that is the root, you know, the environment in which the roots are in. And that also means that it's degrading our road bases and it actually sucks the moisture out of not only like the AB rock aggregate, but concrete and other items, which is why you need to be mindful if you are planting things around your home. What's that root structure? Because it will attack your foundation.
So on item 11E, do we have any further questions for City Manager Silcott?
Excuse me, can the public ask a question or? No, not at this point?
Yeah, not
Okay.
generally.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, we'll get you.
I'll make the motion, we approve item 11E.
Okay. do we have a
I'll second.
Okay, any further discussion? May I have roll call vote, please?
Commissioner Crowley,
Yes.
Commissioner Taylor, Commissioner Skidmore,
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Clayton,
Yes.
Mayor Allen.
And I vote yes. Motion
Commissioner
carries.
Kaler says yes. She just couldn't find them unmute.
We will move on to item 11F.
Review of second quarter 2025 department reports.
Department directors submitted reports for the second quarter 2025 for review.
I know you've got about, I believe, 50, 60 pages worth of actual documents in your agenda packet, so I will just kind of provide a high level overview and even just touching on one or two things that are a summary of what's in the packet, but I'll provide a summary of the summary even. But why are we presenting quarterly reports? And that is to ensure transparency, accountability, and strategic oversight of our operations. So we're wanting to look at providing some performance updates. We want our fiscal and operational accountability by showing that we're using the resources as were intended within the budget process, and that we're supporting data-driven decision-making by looking at a slew of data points that aren't included in your packet as well, identifying the challenges and opportunities and potential operational challenges down the road for your consideration, and to track our progress towards strategic goals and aligning department initiatives with the citywide objectives, and ensuring that we have continuous improvement in the services that we provide to our neighbors and property taxpayers of our community. And we want to also, first and foremost, as servants to the public, enhance the public trust through engagement and fostering transparency with this performance review. So we've consolidated these. We'll give you a comprehensive strategic overview, and we'll kick it off with information that's set to our existing policies for our allocation of resources and to respond effectively to the needs of our community as we serve our neighbors and those investing in our community as business owners. The Ottawa Memorial Auditorium has seen 11,451 visitors in the second quarter and in total attendance, and then they had 4,391 is the highest in May. HR has processed over 228 applications, and conducted 49 interviews, and took an average time, meaning from the time that our HR team advertises a position, it's just over a month at our 42.5 days to have a successful job offer and acceptance. And we fulfilled 6 seasonal ground workers and 1 mechanic, and we've hired 2 police officers, a public works employee, a parks employee, and our communications and outreach coordinator. And
For the question on the auditorium, since you're here.
Yeah.
It's a nice, event, how the ticket sales, when we told us, and
I'm hoping there would be more, but I'm expecting a really great walk-up this evening.
okay,
It's fair, it's just, you know.
okay.
and if you call in advance, she'll even play your walk-up tune.
You'll get one.
Yeah.
Just like you're at Royal Stadium. So, these are our full-time employees, Officer Robinson, Officer Cox. We have our streets employee, Mr. Rose, Mr. Smith with Parks, Aguirre. I butchered his name, I apologize. Aguirre in streets, and Misty, who you met earlier, as our communications and outreach coordinator. The finance department, for investments, we have 2 new investments resulting in $1 million in maturity, and also had $187,260 in interest earnings. Our utility billing division processed 19,846 utility bills and issued 39 licenses through our city clerk, and performed 795 service orders. We have essentially, the long and the short of it is, for revenues, we are slightly above our projection in our general fund, and we are on projection for our enterprise funds for revenues, and our sales tax collections are essentially flat year over year, with $8,459 of collections above the year to date for this time last year. So we collected more this quarter than year to date, than year over year. Our expenditures, you see that we're 42% of the budget, and I want to highlight that, particularly on our enterprise funds and other budgeted funds, that even though that number is a larger increase that was anticipated, and many of those budgets also include like the debt service fund and a lot of our utility funds and those capital improvement funds. So when you see those expenditures, the fact that we're actually spending less than what we budgeted in that, so more of an efficient use. That's what I wanted to point out, is that we're 3% less last year for our enterprise funds, and 4% less than last year of what was budgeted for our other budgeted funds, which could be our special revenue, et cetera, capital.
On the finance topic, I know one thing we had discussed when we were talking budget was credit card fees and how we cover that cost essentially, right?
Yes.
I had noticed City of Atchison had made a post, and it says starting October 1st, 2025, they're going to add on to any credit cards, a 4% fee for any credit card transaction, because they had paid out in just the first 6 months of 2025, they had covered $215,000 in credit card fees that they essentially ate. So I just wanted to bring that up, that,
Yeah, and
people are starting to look at that and realize, you know, that that's not.
And we still plan to bring that back.
Yeah, yeah, of course. Yeah, I just,
Yeah.
I saw that today and I'm like, I gotta tell them. So
Yes,
Okay.
thank you.
Very good.
And I appreciate the year-to-date grant data that you put in here also, you know.
That's,
It's,
Director Landis and her
we
team.
talk about grants all the time, and I think it's sporadic when we talk about it, but to see that you guys have requested $2.8 million in grants. You know, and get it all great. If not, you know, if we get some, that's wonderful. But to see that, you guys are out there applying for these, and that's just year to date, you know, 12 applications, you know, so that's a significant amount of external money that can be moved internally to our community. So we appreciate that. Or I do. Thank
I
you.
would tell you that your city clerk, Melissa Reed, she is working every single day on a grant, in one way or another fashion. And with your department heads, they're all working with her on different, a bunch of different ideas and a bunch of different grant opportunities, so a lot goes into it. And they really do spend a lot of time trying to
Really good.
bring in outside dollars.
And that's her passion.
Mhm.
So we're fortunate to have that.
She has a prayer calls before. didn't she?
Mhm. Yeah.
Great, thank you.
IT, our alert system, as we noted, they've grown, with 495 new contacts added in this, second quarter, and that brings our total number of, folks in the system at 10,297. Neighborhood and community services, I wanted to point out that, we've got 30 new home permits issued year to date. And with the average new home value being $243,702, and that's, again, last quarter I reported that the housing value increases was the first, best first quarter in my tenure currently, and this is obviously, in my brief time, is the best second quarter. We've had 12 NRP applications, 14 remodel permits, and 8 demolition permits. And we had 124 violations, 59 of which were grassweed, high grass notices, and 2 were city abated incidents. Police Department Municipal Court want to look at our response time, which improved over what was presented last year, which was just over 3 minutes. We're down to 2 minutes and 44 seconds. Of course, there's some luck involved in that. But just where's the officer at the time it's dispatched, but still that's very good, and the industry standard is for particularly metro cities. You're looking at cities our size 4, but if you're in like Wichita or Johnson County, you're looking at 6 minutes. And so we do get a value here. Our investigations and support services want to highlight that there was 619 municipal court cases, but that our community policing unit engaged in 121 hours, and we had 406 calls that was either community support or our school resource, and we had 623 total co-responder calls. Municipal court had 478 dispositions with 43 in district court. Our fire department saw 1,110 year-to-date incidents, and we're seeing a 1.4% year-over-year increase, with the bulk obviously being fire and EMS, which is not unusual. And then we've had 12 fires and 11 hazardous conditions with 87 inspections, 124 year-to-date. And we've logged over 2,142 training hours department-wide, and so that's really good, and it's on everything from fireground operations to special operations, like, we have a good rain band rescue, and plus our wildfire response. So point that out. Our Public Works Department has patched over 4,668 potholes and 204 tons of asphalt. With that, I also want to highlight that this is something that we don't often point out or think about. 177.3 tons of debris cleaned up. And I think that's something to highlight, because that's things that we're taking out of the right of way, out of our public space, and removing that debris to make for safer and more aesthetically pleasing community. Our garage has continued to work their preventive maintenance and repair tasks. Our cemetery had 27 burials, which includes both your traditional plot plus a I want to say 11 or 13, I can't remember, was, cremation burials. And then we set 20 headstones with 13, plot cells. Our, Parks Division's mowed over 535 acres of park and trail space and conducted 43 hours of playground maintenance, and that doesn't include our safety inspections that, we do regularly. The golf department, want to show that they have, supported 4,081 rounds of golf in the second quarter. 2025 were 9-hole rounds, 2056 are 18-hole rounds, and we had a single day high in the second quarter of 95 rounds played in a single day. 70% are on weekdays, with 30% of those played on the weekend. And we have currently sold 229 items, generating $3,000 on the button in revenue. I want to point out that all of our maintenance equipment is in hand and operational, and they are now doing, and you see that in that center block of the slide for the golf course, as one of the highlights being that they're now able to mow the green collars as well as the fairways specific to fairway specific maintenance, so that we're conforming with best management practices for our turf and course management. And then, of course, the ever and ongoing arduous process that is assessing and repairing that irrigation system. And I believe they, and it's pointed out in the report, have identified all of the irrigation control boxes now within the tee boxes. Water production, we have 100% compliance across all sampling categories, and we have 194 work orders and 1,210 runtime hours, with 194 system samples collected for the quarter. Distribution has responded to 58 Doppler calls. So when folks call for an outage that's located at the top of our website at ottawaks.gov, you can click that and report an outage, and you will then be able to report whether it's a water or a sewer or an electric, something for a service call. They've had 62 specific work orders. I want to point out that we have 0 water main breaks with 12 new services, and we've had no valve or hydrant repairs that were needed this past quarter. Our wastewater collection is the same crew doing double duty. They cleaned just under 7,150 feet of sewer line and inspected 1,927 feet of main sewer line on 8 service callouts via Doppler. Water reclamation, which is our wastewater treatment facility, they treated 103.51 million gallons of inflow with 100% compliance, and that includes all of the permit requirements. And you have a specific slide on what those standards are and where we are currently testing with respect to that. And we had completed 349 work orders and collected 60 samples for the quarter. Our electric production averaged 57.2 million kilowatts for the generation on an average monthly versus the consumption of 12.2 million. So the first one wasn't a million, I apologize. It was simply 57,211 kilowatt hours. And that was essentially made up with purchase power agreements at 12.2 million kilowatt hours, making up that difference. So we had peak demand events and performed generator maintenance and fiber splicing at key service locations. Distribution managed 58 callouts at 27 poles and logged 130 hours of tree removal with 591 Doppler callouts, supporting our distribution system reliability. And the warehouse in-processed 2,046 parts and issued 5,899 parts, completing 50 purchase orders with a 72% fulfillment rate. So, there are a lot of that too is our meter replacement programs, which we'll get into with our overview of our capital projects. So that concludes the report from me. If you don't have any specific questions of our directors or departments who are present for more detailed deeper dive.
Could you go back a few to the one for IT? I just wanted to clarify if we had it as, I think, the 10,000 citizens on the alerts And that's social media followers, correct?
No, that is the Everbridge system.
Okay, Everbridge is
For us to
10,000?
be able to contact you via voice,
Okay,
text, or email.
okay, that was the same exact number as Facebook followers, so that's why I was really confused, and so. Cause on the city alert contacts, it shows 1,025. Just, that's what I was just trying to figure out, total propagation.
I might have.
Okay.
Transcribed that or fact.
Okay, cause I was just thinking like propagation for alerts, 1,000 seems more in line than
It was
10,000's almost,
that center box, yeah.
okay,
I apologize.
no, you're fine. So that's just, I just kinda wanted to touch on that, cause if that's the alert system, then I think that's,
Yeah,
you know.
that's, we need to get that number up then, if it's 1,000.
yeah,
Otherwise, we won't let you know that, hey, we are going to be working in your area, or you know, we do send hard contacts on the door, but folks don't always set their door, so.
you know, and if it's Sunday night at 7 PM and there's an emergency repair going on, you get an alert
Yeah.
potentially if you're signed up.
So I
Do we have any
apologize
other
for that.
questions for these reports? Okay, we will go on to item 11G.
Active projects update.
This will be a review of the active projects by our city manager.
We'll just a quick overview. I won't really, dally on this. The Proximity Park Water Tower, we have, that punch list of paint, grout repair, overspray. Also essentially waiting on what would be the high pressure pump station to be completed in November of this year, because that will then provide the sufficiency of pressure in the system to fill the tower. That will then allow us to do, the final checks for, the work that's been performed. So, right now, we are looking to, make significant improved, progress on our meter replacement, residential meter replacement program, where we have, 240 meters installed this quarter. And you'll see that, we have 521 meters remaining to be installed, with a total of 341 installations year to date. And it's showing that we are on path to complete that this year. Our 3-phase is currently, we're ordering and are replacing as needed when they come up. So we'll be reporting more on that later in the year. The Pin Oak lift station substantially complete and on time and on budget. Well, revised timeline and budget. Commission room upgrades. If things go as planned, our next commission meeting will be in the new commission chambers. The HVAC City Hall, we look to be bringing, in one of my upcoming, manager reports, not the next one, but certainly upcoming, a more definitive milestone update and report on this, as we are utilizing VG Consultants as the, environmental engineer, project manager to assist us in the complexities of an HVAC system. Our taxiway reconstruction is, actually turned around today, a notification that we were able to, get full funding from the FAA to do all 3 phases. It is a 95% federal funds, 5% local match. So, and again, we're able to turn that around with our notification today. So we're grateful to Brad, who's worked diligently with this. And again, it was through the FAA, so we didn't need to look at trying to utilize our elected representatives for additional assistance, so we can then continue to hopefully use every opportunity with respect to our levy program and projects that we might be able to get assistance from them on with that. But this slide will be significantly updated as we, come back to you because the, total expenditure budget will be looking more closer to 2.7, 2.8 million, rather than what you see here is the 1.3. And with that, that concludes the major updates on our significant projects, if there are no questions.
One question kind of on the end, you had talked about the federal funds and stuff like that. Have we heard anything back? I know we had talked to Sharice David's office for some federal funds and stuff. Or is that something we'll hear later in the year, early next year, as those are appropriated?
Well, I don't believe that that particular funding mechanism was authorized in the bill. So, it would need to be legislative specific. And what we received the funding through was through the FAA's Capital Airport Program. So, and I'll be able to, provide a more detailed apportionment when, we finalize all the paperwork and documents, because we haven't had a chance to go through it because we received it, today. There's like 17 different document packets.
Yeah.
So.
That makes sense. On the AMI meters, as we're nearing completion on those, do we have a plan to, and I think, shout out to the crews who've knocked it out of the park and got so many of them out. Do we foresee essentially replacing this on there with the plan for the water meters? Obviously, they're much more resource intensive. And are we doing the same type thing, where are we trying to get the electronic water meters out to every household?
Over
Similar to
time, but
these?
not as concentrated, and
Yeah.
I know Director Landis with Bob and his customer service team can probably speak to greater detail.
We need an incredibly creative funding mechanism to be able to do that. Is really where we're at right now. It's not due to lack of desire. We see it as being just as important as the electric meter rollout. We were just fortunate enough to be able to move that ahead. It is more cost intensive on the water meter side, so it is more expensive also. And so just those two challenges in front of us. So we're hoping that we'll be able to come back at some future point with a plan to implement and install more of those annually. But right now, with just the simple fund balances that are available in the water fund, it's not possible to do more than we're doing right now.
That makes sense.
Yeah, so it's like if it's cycled, when we order new meters for inventory, those are AMI capable.
Okay.
Yes.
And,
So right now they're being used for new housing that's coming in, and then replacement of those that go out that have to be replaced along the way. Very few left for just progressing the whole rollout of the replacement program.
And do you know on those, do they have to dig, or can they just in the meter pit? Is it, when I say simple swap out, is simple or less invasive? Okay. Okay.
Any other questions on the project updates? Okay, we'll move on to comments by our city manager.
want to highlight some activities of our crews. Obviously, we've completed the Main Street 15th to 17th water line replacement, and crews began new water service there at Hidden Lakes Development. And with the storm response, we have debris removal ongoing, and we have obviously with the rains and when we can access certain parts, because obviously we have the equipment to access pretty much everything, but that can also cause damage with rutting. And so we're being very deliberate in what we're doing with our own maintenance, but that's kind of where we're at with that. And our electric distribution, when the July 18th storm rolled through, we had numerous outages and some pole snaps that you can see here near City Hall and at the co-op. So excellent work from Ed and his crew in responding to get that
Those wind, or is it?
It was shortly after the wind came through. I mean, it was that evening. So it was about 18 hours separated, but I'm assuming that they were probably almost on their way, and then the wind just finally, and then the domino effect happened. So a lot of weight, as you can see up there.
Yeah, and you can tell that that one, although it hadn't fallen, it's under stress
It's new now.
now.
It's vertical.
Want to invite everyone, to come out to Mitcheltus this evening, at 6:30 for a, moment with Mitch. And if folks are available, at Haley Park, Friday morning, 7 to 10, and if it's foul weather, at least I think our Fox folks will be well taken care of, as they'll be in the gazebo. And then obviously they're on town, so if you can come out for that, please do. Want to highlight our, survey and, say that to date, we've had 725 received online, and, Laura continues to, distribute paper hard copies daily, and we are receiving daily. And I know Misty has made the rounds and has also distributed, individually, and has, began the process of entering those as they've been received. So we'll continue that, as we move forward, but we're asking everyone to, help, provide feedback as far as what your priorities are, and, you know, how we are doing serving you and what we can look to do better. And there is question 14, the ability to provide comments.
What was the, deadline on that again?
I've gone blank, but I know that I will be presenting on August 6th.
Oh, August 6th. Thank you.
With a, presentation at the following commission meeting of the findings and discussions. And then we currently are not planning on a meeting on the 30th, as it's the, 5th Wednesday. And our next, tentative kind of bigger picture items on August 2nd at 7 p.m. will be discussion of transient guest tax policy options and how that might look to be apportioned, and the Reinvestment Housing Incentive District, or the RHID, and kind of tweaking that policy a little bit, because there's been some changes at the state level legislatively, and also within our own internal policy with respect to having it more focused on rental units rather than a mix of.
Is that August 6th?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it is
Saturday.
Yeah.
Very good.
7 p.m. on Saturday,
Yeah, might miss out.
So if there are no questions of yourself or the team, that concludes my report.
I guess not for you, but when you say team, I didn't know if Chief wanted to touch on the success or a story on the Police Youth Academy.
I'd love to, thank you. Yeah, Mayor, Commissioners, last Friday, we concluded our first week of the Teen Safety Academy. And unfortunately for me, I was gone for some of the week on personal business, so I couldn't attend it, but I was there Monday to greet them and saw some of the action Tuesday. And I know that we made some really good friends with our teens and some good connections, and they had a really good learning experience and fun times. In particular, I would like to thank the Kansas Bureau of Investigation and their crime scene response team for coming out on Thursday. And we set up a mock crime scene and a mock investigation, and got to do some advanced crime scene processing techniques that not even some of our officers get the opportunity to do. And invited their parents in for Friday for a short graduation, and got some really great feedback and ideas. So a resounding success. And I want to thank the whole community policing team and the community outreach programs and services division. They really spearheaded our efforts in the preparation and planning and execution of that, and it was perfect.
Awesome.
Yeah.
And you're going to be doing an adult similar style, correct?
We will. Yep.
Great. When's that?
Tentatively start the first Monday of October. Registration will be getting uploaded to on our website here over the next couple weeks, and we'll start taking applications very soon. We'll get through National Night Out, and then we'll kind of move on to that next project.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. We'll move on to comments by our governing body. We'll start with Commissioner Crowley,
No comments.
Commissioner Kaler.
Yeah, hey, I just want to, point out that when I started on the city commission, we didn't have the availability to be virtual. And I am so grateful today and the last couple of times that I've been able to be, virtual at this meeting. I had a patient that reached their end of their life just late this afternoon and really needed to be with that family. So I appreciate everyone's, understanding that sometimes you've just got to be other places, but being virtual is a good second choice if you can't be in person. So thank you.
Commissioner Skidmore,
I have no comment.
Mayor Pro Tem Clayton.
I'll say the same thing I say every quarter. There's a lot of great information in the quarterly reports and stuff that we get. In the monthly report from the outside agencies, a lot of first people to review kind of what all's going on. And then another shout out again, Zip Trip is Friday morning. There will be a lot of activity downtown. I believe Second Street is shut down from Main to the alley, Main to Hickory.
Think Main to the alley.
Okay, but at least if you're coming off Main on Second Street, right by Haley Park will be closed. I know there's some car clubs coming down, bringing a bunch of cars, a bunch of people coming to town. So should be something really exciting for our community. So if you can't make it down, be watching the news. And if you don't have TV at home, maybe find a restaurant or a coffee shop that does. So be sure to check that out.
Very good. I have nothing to add to that. So we will move on to announcements. Our July 30th meeting is still tentative. July 31st is the Chamber Eggs and Issues at Advent Health at 8 a.m. August 6th, our City Commission meetings at 7 p.m. at City Hall. August 13th, City Commission meeting 4 p.m. at City Hall. And August 20th, City Commission meeting at 10 a.m. at City Hall. And seeing, oh, go
Do
ahead.
we have anything on the agenda for next week?
Not currently.
So do we kind of go ahead and cancel it?
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
And the National Night Out is
August 5th.
August 5th, okay.
Yes. Okay. I answered before I did, yes.
Good.
Okay, and seeing no other business before us, I will adjourn.